The woman's hand was already on my shoulder before I could stop her. "Excuse me, but service dogs aren't allowed to just lie under tables like that." I looked up from my untouched coffee. The restaurant manager stood over me, her smile professional but firm. Behind her, I could see the family who'd complained, a woman about my age with 2 teenagers, all of them shooting disgusted looks at Kaiser. "He's a service dog," I said quietly. "I understand you might have anxiety or whatever, but we have health codes. Emotional support animals aren't the same as real service dogs." Kaiser's head lifted slightly at the shift in my breathing. 110 pounds of Belgian Malinois, tan and black and perfectly still except for his dark eyes tracking every movement around us. "He's task-trained," I said. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to take your pet outside." Let me back up. The invitation came on a Tuesday. Colonel Sarachin's promotion ceremony, my former team leader, the woman who'd pulled me out of Kandahar when everything went to hell. "Emma, you should come. It would mean a lot." I'd been home, really home, stateside and civilian, for 14 months. The kind of home where I slept in my own bed and nobody was trying to kill me. The kind where I could walk to a coffee shop without a rifle. Where I was supposed to be normal. Kaiser made it possible. Barely. I'd driven 3 hours to Fort Bragg, arrived at the officers' club early out of habit. The ceremony wasn't until 1400. I needed coffee and a quiet corner to manage my breathing before I faced a room full of uniforms. The coffee shop was attached to the main commissary, civilian-run, full of families doing weekend shopping. I'd chosen a table in the back. Kaiser settled under it without a command, his body a warm pressure against my leg. The first 20 minutes were fine. I managed half a cup of coffee. My hands only shook a little. I was practicing the breathing technique the VA therapist had taught me when the family sat down 2 tables over. The mother noticed Kaiser first. Her expression soured. She whispered something to her husband, a major, I noted automatically, reading his uniform at the next table. He glanced over, frowned. Their daughter, maybe 16, pulled out her phone, started recording. "Mom, it's like one of those fake service docs." For attention. My chest tightened. Kaiser's head came up immediately, and his paw pressed against my thigh. Pressure therapy. Exactly what he was trained to do. "Disgusting," the mother said louder now. "People who abuse the service dog rules should be prosecuted." I kept my eyes down, counted my breaths. 4 in, hold 4 out. "Look at her," the teenager said. "She's not even blind or anything. Probably just wants to bring her pet everywhere." The manager appeared at their table. They spoke in low voices, but I caught the words, health hazard, inappropriate, other customers. Then she was at my table. "He's a psychiatric service dog," I said, keeping my voice level. "He's trained to perform specific tasks related to my disability. I'm sure he's very nice, but he alerts to panic attacks. He performs deep pressure therapy. He creates space in crowded areas. He's trained to the same standard as any mobility dog." "Ma'am, I don't make the rules." Kaiser's vest had patches, service dog, do not pet, working dog, and one more, smaller, that most people didn't notice. K9 veteran. "You're making a scene," the manager said. I wasn't. I was sitting quietly, drinking coffee, bothering no one. But I recognized the tone. The decision was already made. "I'll leave," I said. "I think that's best." I stood slowly. Kaiser rose with me, positioned himself automatically on my left side. The mother was watching, vindicated. Her husband looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. As I headed for the door, the teenage daughter's voice carried. "Probably got a fake vest off Amazon. My friend's mom does that with her Labradoodle." The October air outside was cold and clean. I made it to my truck before my hands started, shaking badly enough that I couldn't grip the keys. Kaiser pressed against my legs, solid and steady. I focused on his breathing, let it regulate my own. I wasn't going to make the ceremony. I'd known it was a long shot anyway. Too many people. Too many uniforms that would remind me of the ones soaked in blood. "Too many, Sergeant." I turned. A man stood 10 feet away, older, maybe 60, in civilian clothes, but with bearing that screamed military. He was staring at Kaiser with an expression I couldn't quite read. "I'm sorry," I said. "Do I know you?" "No, ma'am. But I know that doc." He stepped closer, careful, hands visible. "Or I know dogs like him. That's a Malinois. Former MWD if I'm reading his vest right. Military working doc." "Yes." "And that patch?" He pointed to a small insignia I'd sewn onto Kaiser's vest myself. Unit patch. Not visible unless you knew what you were looking for. That's 75th Ranger Regiment. My throat closed. Ma'am, he said carefully. Was that your unit? Or his? The truck door was open. I could leave. Should leave. Both, I whispered. His expression changed entirely. Jesus Christ, the man breathed. He straightened unconsciously to attention. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Were you his handler? I managed a nod. My hand found Kaiser's head, fingers buried in the thick fur at his neck. Grounding. I'm retired CSM Bill Morrison. Spent 30 years Army, last 10 with JSOC. Joint Special Operations Command. He knew the world I'd come from. That family in there, they gave you trouble? It's fine. It's not fine. His voice hardened. You mind if I asked her rank? Or is it? Captain Emma Reeves. Retired. His eyes widened slightly. Reeves. Wait. Emma Reeves, Ranger qualified, commanded a combat tracker team out of Bagram. The parking lot tilted. I forced air into my lungs. Kaiser leaned harder against my leg. How do you? I couldn't finish. My son was 3rd Ranger Battalion. He told me about a Captain Reeves who ran tracker teams in Afghanistan. Said she was a legend. Said she and her dog found an HVT that everyone else had missed, tracked him through 12 miles of mountains. He looked at Kaiser with something like reverence. Is this the same dog? Kaiser, I said. Yes. Morrison's whole demeanor shifted. Ma'am, I don't want to overstep, but what happened in there? That's unacceptable. You and that dog have done more for this country than most people will do in 10 lifetimes. They didn't know. They should have asked instead of assumed. He glanced back at the coffee shop. You heading to Colonel Chen's ceremony? I was. But I gestured vaguely at myself. At the truck. At the invisible weight that made everything harder than it should be. Bad idea. Because of the crowd? Because of everything. The words came out rougher than I intended. I can't. I don't do well with a lot of people anymore. We're loud noises. We're surprises. We're most things. Morrison nodded slowly. My son came home different too. Took him 3 years before he could sit in a restaurant without his back to the wall. I can't sit in restaurants at all. Apparently. Colonel Chen know you're struggling? She knows I retired medical. She doesn't know. I stopped. Didn't know what? That I couldn't sleep more than 4 hours without nightmares. That grocery stores made me sweat through my shirt. That I'd washed out of every civilian job I tried because I couldn't handle normal human interaction anymore. She doesn't know you're still fighting. Morrison finished gently. Kaiser whined softly and pawed at my leg again. My heart was racing, vision tunneling slightly. The attack was building. Okay. Morrison said, his voice dropping into a command cadence. Calm. Certain. Grounding. You're okay. Your dog's got you. Focus on him. I crouched down, and Kaiser immediately moved into position, his weight across my lap, his warmth and pressure pulling me back from the edge. I buried my face in his neck and counted his breaths. That's incredible, Morrison said quietly. The training on that dog is phenomenal. He saved my life, I managed. In Kandahar, IED took out our vehicle. He pulled me away from the wreckage before the secondary explosion. Your hailer team was hit. My whole team was hit. The words felt like broken glass. Kaiser and I were the only ones who made it out. The silence stretched. When I finally looked up, Morrison's eyes were wet. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so damn sorry. He had shrapnel in his shoulder and a broken rib, and he still dragged me 30 meters. My voice cracked. They wanted to retire him after that, but I fought to keep him. Took him through the MWD adoption process the second I got stateside. He's yours now. He's the only reason I'm functional at all. I stood slowly, Kaiser moving with me. The VA assigned him as my psychiatric service doc. He's trained for PTSD, panic attacks, nightmare interruption. He's better than any medication they've given me. Morrison looked toward the coffee shop again. Those people have no idea. Most people don't. They see a woman in her 30s with an anxiety dog and assume I'm faking. Gaming the system. The bitterness in my voice surprised me. They don't see Ranger School. They don't see for deployments. They don't see the 73 enemy combatants we tracked and captured. They see someone weak who needs a crutch. The weak ones are the ones who judge what they don't understand. A car pulled into the lot, a black SUV with government plates. It parked near the officers' club entrance, and a man in dress uniform stepped out. Even at this distance, I could see the stars. 2 of them. Morrison followed my gaze and went very still. That's Major General Patrick Hale. I know who he is. Everyone in JSOC knew Hale. He'd commanded Special Operations Forces across 3 theaters, was known for his unconventional tactics and his loyalty to his people. He's presiding over Colonel Chen's ceremony, Morrison said. Emma, you should be there. I can't. You. CSM Morrison, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I can't walk into a room full of people right now. I can barely stand in a parking lot. My voice was shaking. I'm not that person anymore. I'm not the captain who led missions. I'm just broken. You're standing here talking to me. Barely. Kaiser pressed against my leg again, and I realized my breathing had gone ragged. The general was walking toward the club entrance, but something made him pause and look our direction. His eyes landed on Morrison first, recognition, maybe, then shifted to me, and then to Kaiser. He changed direction. General Hale crossed the parking lot with the purposeful stride of a man used to making decisions and following through. Morrison straightened unconsciously. I wanted to run. Bill Morrison, the general said, extending his hand. Didn't expect to see you here. Sir, just happened to be in the area. Hale's eyes moved to me, then dropped to Kaiser. His expression shifted, surprise, then something deeper. He crouched down slowly, carefully, reading Kaiser's vest. Belgian Malinois, former MWD, K9 veteran patch. He looked up at me, and that unit insignia is 75th Rangers. I managed to nod. Hale stood, and his eyes locked onto mine with sudden intensity. Captain Reeves? My stomach dropped. Yes, sir. I'll be damned. He smiled, broad and genuine. I've been trying to reach you for 6 months. The Army forwarded letters to 3 different addresses. You're a hard woman to find. I move around a lot, sir. I can see why you might want to. His voice gentled. But I wanted to thank you personally. Operation Griffin, February 2021. You remember it? How could I forget? 3-day mission tracking a bomb maker through the mountains. Kaiser had picked up the scent from a single piece of fabric. We'd followed it through terrain that should have been impossible. Yes, sir. That HVT you found built the IEDs that killed 17 American service members over 6 months. Because of you and your team, he's in custody and his network is dismantled. Hale's expression was serious. You saved lives, Captain. A lot of them. My team. Your team was exceptional. I read every after-action report. But you were the one who refused to give up when the trail went cold. You were the one who trusted your dog when everyone else said it was impossible. He paused. And you were the one who got hit 4 months later and lost your whole team. The parking lot swam. Kaiser's paw hit my thigh, hard and insistent. Easy, Morrison said quietly. Hale's hand went to Kaiser's head, gentle and respectful. This the same doc? Yes, sir. He saved your life. He did. The general straightened and did something I didn't expect. He saluted Kaiser. A full, formal salute to a military working doc. Warriors deserve respect, he said. Both of you. My throat was too tight to speak. Sir, Morrison said carefully. Captain Reeves was inside the coffee shop earlier. There was an incident. Civilians harassing her about Kaiser. Hale's expression went cold. What kind of incident? They claimed he wasn't a real service doc. I managed. Asked me to leave. Standing here, Hale said. That's brave. You drove 3 hours to honor a friend. That's brave. You're managing a disability that would break most people, and you're doing it with dignity and a partner who earned his place beside you. He paused. That's the definition of courage. A family walked past us toward the commissary, a young couple with a toddler. The little girl pointed at Kaiser. Puppy. Working dog, sweetie. Her mother said gently, reading his vest. Then she looked at me and smiled. Thank you for your service. It was automatic, the kind of thing people said. But something about it broke through. The ceremony starts in 20 minutes, Hale said. I'm not going to order you to come, because you're retired and I can't. But I'm asking you, as someone who knows what you've done and who you are. Sarah Chun would want you there. Your brothers and sisters in arms would want you there. His voice softened. And I think you need to be there. Not for them. For you. Kaiser looked up at me, dark eyes steady and certain. What if I have a panic attack? I whispered. Then Kaiser does his job, and we give you space. Hale's tone was matter of fact. Emma, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Morrison nodded. I'll sit with you. Watcher 6. The weight in my chest shifted slightly. Not gone, but lighter. Okay, I heard myself say. Okay. Colonel Sarah Chen's face when she saw me was worth every hard moment. She broke protocol, crossed the room, and pulled me into a hug that lasted long enough for people to notice. You came, she whispered. Barely. You came. She pulled back, saw Kaiser, and her eyes filled. And you brought him. The ceremony was beautiful. I sat in the back with Morrison, Kaiser pressed against my legs. When the panic started to build during the gun salute, Kaiser's pressure therapy brought me back. When the crowd got too loud, Morrison created space around us. And when Hale mentioned, during his speech, that some of the best officers he'd served with were the ones who continued to fight battles no one could see, when his eyes found mine across the room, I finally understood. I wasn't broken. I was different. Changed by what I'd survived, shaped by what I'd lost. But I was still here. Still fighting. Still a ranger. After the ceremony, people approached carefully. Some thanked me for my service. Others asked about Kaiser. A few, the ones who'd been downrange, who knew, just nodded with understanding. Sarah found me before I left. Come to dinner next month. Just us. Quiet. I'd like that. Emma, I'm glad you're still here. Me too, I said. And meant it. In the parking lot, Kaiser jumped into the truck and settled in his usual spot. Morrison walked me out. You did good today, Captain. Thank you for staying. Anytime. He handed me a card. That's my number. You ever need someone to watch your 6, literally or figuratively, you call. I drove home as the sun set, Kaiser asleep in the passenger seat, and for the first time in 14 months, I felt something close to peace. The fight wasn't over. Maybe it never would be, but I wasn't fighting alone, and that made all the difference. End.